Great to see you. An awesome game to talk about that we'll get to in a few minutes. At the trade deadline, it didn't seem like Montreal thought they were headed to the postseason, trading some key pieces. But they find themselves in the mix against this Penguins team. What stood out to you about their play so far?
Well, you know what? It's a team who's well coached by Claude Julien. When you think about the character on this team, it's just amazing. You have a guy like Carey Price, everybody knows him. But you have the captain, Shea Weber. And, everybody on the team is calling Shea dad because, you need to respect your dad. And when dad is asking something, you better do it. And it's exactly what's going on right now with that team. I think that the Penguins are not respecting the Montreal Canadiens. Only like 23 hits last night for the Penguins on the Canadiens players, 39 for the Habs. I mean, they're playing like it's a regular season game, the Penguins, and if it's the way they think they're going to beat the Montreal Canadiens, they're in deep trouble.
Rand, do you think the Montreal Canadiens are playing with fire a little bit? You're seeing tons of penalties being taken in all the games they've played so far.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. You look at the way that playoff series is going. Honestly, I think Pittsburgh was a better team for the first two games, even if they lost the first game. They controlled the pace of that game. But yesterday, when it got 3-1, it was over. We were already talking about the draft in the stands, and a few minutes after, obviously, Jonathan Drouin scored that big goal, and it changed. And Claude was forced to, play with his lines a little bit, and suddenly, well, I'll put it this way. Since the third period of the second game, the Montreal Canadiens are playing way better. It's just the fact that they're taking sometimes some stupid penalties that's really hurting them. But otherwise, now they have the advantage here. They need to take advantage of, playing at home again. At home, obviously, for next game, they're going to have the last change. And I feel like that's really helping Claude Julien.
You brought up a great point about when they went down 3-1 and everyone was starting to count them out again. But that composure that they managed to just play with and the poise to come back, do you think that also was a part of, you mentioned the line shuffling, just kind of switching things up? What went into just that confidence from this club?
Well, they suddenly started to think that it was possible. When everybody, since they won a training camp, everybody's saying, Michel, it's impossible. They're going to lose in 3 games versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. Well, guess what? They're leaning this one 2-1. So it's all about character. You have a guy like Philippe Danault. Nobody's talking about him, okay? 73% of his face-off versus Sidney Crosby. Well, that's above his stats right there. That he won 73% of all his face-offs versus Sidney Crosby. It says it all. His character, his blocking shots. He had a couple of great scoring chances, of 2 posts. When you have guys like that nobody's talking about around the league, they behave the right way, they play the right way, and they care. And when you care, it changed everything, I believe.
And Ren, we usually talk about the big 3 when it comes to basketball. You really talk about the big 3 when it comes to hockey. Montreal Canadiens have Shea Weber, Ben Sherratt, and you've got my favorite player, Jeff Petrie, because he's a fellow Michigan State Spartan like myself. Go Green. Talk about Montreal Canadiens' big 3 on the back end.
Well, I'm happy that you alluded about it, because last night on TVA Sports, I said I talked about the big 3, and they were all laughing, because they were thinking of Serge Savard and Guy Lapointe and Larry Robinson, and they were like, you have Ben Sherratt there and Jeff Petrie and Shea Weber. But you know what? It is what it is. They played 24 minutes again last night. Jeff Petrie, it's his second winning goal in this playoff series. They're playing really well. They're really hard to play against, especially the pairing Sherratt and Weber. They're brutal. All the Pittsburgh Penguins players are not going around them, and if they do, they're getting whacked. And you know what it is. You played the game. You played the game for a long time. You know what it is when you have a defenseman that wants to just put a Sherwood between your ribs.
Switching gears though, curious to get your take on the round robin play. We've heard some mixed things. Some people like it, some people think it's kind of silly. The seeding is obviously very important, and we're watching a team like the Boston Bruins, who entered at the 1 seed, now in a situation where they could either be the 3 or 4 seed. So just what's your take on that approach for those top teams?
Love it. And you know what? Think about it, okay? Think about it 1 second. Now you're the Flyers, you're the Capitals, you're the Tampa Bay Lightning, and you're saying to yourself, I have a chance in the first round of the playoffs to face the Montreal Canadiens instead of, probably the Blue Jackets or the Maple Leafs or the Hurricanes or probably people thought the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now you have a chance to face the Montreal Canadiens. And I think, I'm here at every game in Toronto. I really like what I'm seeing, even in the round robin. But I do believe that now teams are going to really play even harder because they're going to try everything, but everything to finish first, which is totally normal. You want to have that chance to play the Montreal Canadiens. It's going to be quote unquote easy, but you still have to play the game. But yes, I believe there'll be a race, especially in the East, for that first spot. And you look at the Western Conference. I feel even if you look at the Blackhawks, you're like, that's an easy team to beat. It's not true. I believe that their roster is even deeper than Montreal.
And I think matchups, to your point, are so critical to that first round in particular, especially when it comes to, because you don't have home ice advantage. It's who comes down to that last change. And you saw in that game, Chicago and Edmonton, defensive zone faceoffs, less than 2 minutes to go in the hockey game. Jonathan Toews went out there and beat Draisaitl. If you have a defensive specialist in your team that wins faceoffs, maybe you put him out there and he wins that faceoff and the result is different.
It's totally that. And it's the same thing with Montreal, with Danault, who's just a beast. I mean, and I feel like, you look at Toronto versus Columbus. Who's really the best team? Is it the defensive team? Is it more the Toronto Maple Leafs? But I'm with you. The guy who's going to win the faceoff at the end of the game is going to probably be the guy who's going to help that team to win those games. And we're always looking at goals, but I believe like the defensive part of the game in the playoffs is still key. I don't believe in offensive team like the Oilers or even the Maple Leafs.